This is Julia. And we want to send a loud and clear message that we're not anti-LGBT. So here we go.
Julia, let's do this. Do you know who I am?
I do not know who you are.
You might be in trouble after talking to me. I'm joking. All right, tell the world who you are.
Wait, so who are you?
What are you? I'm Viva Frei.
Okay.
No, it's a joke. I say some people do not want to publicly fraternize with me at this point in time.
I will talk to anybody.
All right,
some people say you shouldn't talk to Nazis, and I say if I ever meet a real Nazi, I haven't. But I would love to talk to them because that would be an interesting conversation.
Absolutely. It sounds crazy. I keep looking for the camera here. It's over here.
Oh, okay.
I would, if I knew that I would be safe, I'd sit down and talk with a Nazi. Now, Julia, tell us what's going on.
There's a lot of people here. There's a protest. I was just walking down the street and got pulled into it with my friend Chanel Fall here.
But now I'm going to ask you the obvious question. Your shirt says, I'm trans and I support Chris. This is the question. Does the other side support you being trans and supporting Chris?
So I don't agree with everything Chris thinks, but I don't agree with everything that anybody thinks. I think we all have different ideas. I do believe in the importance of having conversations, and that is what Chris is doing. And I met him last night at a private function. We got to chat for a while. We're not on the same page with everything, but that's fine because we can have good conversation. We can learn from one another. And when I'm on the other side, I took the shit off earlier and I went and spent some time on the other side. And what they tell me is everybody here wants me dead. And I know that's not true because I spend a lot of time with these people. And there are people on this side who are extreme. There are people on this side who do want ill of me. But that's not most of these people. And I'm sick of us acting like it is because that prevents us from talking. It prevents us from finding workability because we just get too divided.
Let me ask you this. Say you're I don't want to use dead names or anything like that, but you're trans.
Yeah. I was Jason before, so we can talk about
Well, at what point? So, what point in your life did you realize, or did you come to the determination that you felt better, identified as,
Yeah, so I've always felt this way. Like I remember this when I was 5 years old, but I didn't have the words for it. Right? I just knew that I felt like I wanted to do all the girl things and be with the girls, but I was a boy, and that I didn't tell anybody because I also knew that was shameful and wrong, and it never went away. And when I was 12 years old, when I found the word transgender online, and I was searching for it. I was searching for like, how do I become a girl? And when you type that in 2002,
how old are you now, if I may
I'm
ask?
33.
33, okay.
So when you type that in, this is what you find is blogs at that point because there's nothing in the education system, nothing in the health system, and the blogs resonated with me, and I thought that's how I feel. And then I proceeded to hide it and built a lot of shame up by not dealing with this. My family's evangelical Christian. I worked at a church for 7 years, actually. So I know that world very well, and that's where I was at that point in time. And I don't know, where do you want me to go from here?
Well, no, the question is this. Because if you were a kid then that is a kid now, some people might have allowed or even encouraged you to do irreversible,
Sure.
I won't call it damage, I'll just call it irreparable changes to your body as a young boy, which you didn't do, I presume.
I did not. I transitioned when I was 28.
And if I may ask, so I know the terminal. I had Blair White on for an interview a couple weeks ago. Without getting into too much detail, how far into that process have you gone?
So I have been on hormones for 5 years. I have had bottom surgery. I did that in 2021. These grew naturally, so that was cool. I haven't had any augmentation here. And I haven't done any facial surgery or anything of that sort.
I know. So as an adult who's gone through, I mean, it's the ultimate of the procedures. What is your position on allowing it for children, even with parental consent and even with medical consent?
I believe in nuance. Like, I am not unilaterally against childhood transition, but I'm also not for no bar like we have now. I like where we were about 15 years ago, where the general advice in the medical system then was if a little 5-year-old comes up to you and says, they're a boy and they say, I'm a girl, we don't socially transition them. We wait. We watch them, though. We meet with them every 6 months, every year to see how they're doing, because most of them, the vast majority, grow out of that. If they're persistent when they're 12 and 13, maybe we do intervene at that point. I'm okay with that. However, we move to a place now where that 5-year-old says it, we do a social transition there and then. And at that point, they don't have a chance to see if their birth sex is going to work. Similarly, when a 12 or 13-year-old comes out and suddenly says they feel gender dysphoric, and I've never said it before, we used to wait. We go, okay, this is brand new. We should wait a few years to see what happens. Now we jump right in. And I know why we do it. We do it because of people like me who don't get to pass because I didn't transition when I was young. But I'm half the story. I also know detransitioners who deeply regret a transition they've gone into, and that doesn't work either. So I believe that this is nuanced, this is complex, and we can't just have a one-size-fits-all solution. And that's why I support Chris, not because I agree with everything he says, but I think that having conversations I don't agree with is how we vet ideas.
Well, and I would not ever recommend reading the chat on the internet, but there's going to be a lot of people who say it's not nuanced when it comes to kids. Ignoring the fact that we've had gender dysphoria as recognized in the DSM for decades as a mental, I mean, it's not a judgmental way I say it, it's a mental illness. It was just regarded as, and it had treatments, and it was only under the most extreme circumstances that it would ever be contemplated for a consenting adult. I don't know what it was historically for kids, but there'll be people who say never for kids, and if it results in the occasional adult like yourself who I don't use the word can't pass, but who has gone through the puberty, that's going to be what society has to deal with, as opposed to doing this on kids. But now, despite espousing views which some people will disagree with here, have you felt any hatred for having held these views or expressed them?
So someone I used to work with a few years ago, they were in an administrative position in an Ontario municipality, and they taught me, we like to make things black and white, but nothing is black and white. There's always shades of gray. And whenever we act like it's all or nothing, that doesn't work. And that's true with pretty much every policy. So I'm not here to define exactly what that means or where that line is, but any policy that says all kids can transition if they want to, that's not going to work. But one that says no kids can transition, I'm not sure that works either.
Now you're going to leave this protest. You're going to have done an interview with Viva Frei. I imagine the trans community in Ottawa is exquisitely smaller than the Jewish community of Montreal. Are you going to face problems going back within the community itself right now?
I don't live in Ottawa. I went back to my town.
Okay, well I won't ask where you live then.
No, but you know what? I'm not afraid of that. And I'm not afraid of that because I want to be with people who are open to discussing different ideas. And that exists on this side. That also exists on that side to a lesser extent, but it does exist. And those are the people who I want to spend my time with.
And now, I'm going to ask the totally naive juvenile question. As a trans adult now, your persuasion is for men, but in terms of you're as a partner or other people, you're looking for biological men or biological women.
So I'm married to a biological female.
Okay.
I met her just before I started transitioning. She knew what I was going to do. So she was with me throughout my entire transition. Honestly, I don't really feel much sexual attraction at all. I was telling Chanel about that last night when we were chatting, that I think that naked bodies are gross. I think all naked bodies are gross. And I don't know why other people don't think that, to be quite frank.
I don't think naked bodies are gross, but I do not like massages. I don't like being touched by anybody who's not my wife. And I also don't like body contact when I'm trying to sleep. But that's just like neuroses. Fantastic. So now what are you gonna do? You're gonna cross over to the other side and talk to the other side, or not really?
I might spend some time over there. I might go back there again. I don't know. I'm just here to have interesting conversations with anyone who wants to chat. Really.
Thank you for talking with me. Awesome. Okay. All right, people. How's it going? Very interesting.